So, bridging events. What are you thinking about in this COVID world that we're now live in? What are you thinking about as you begin wanting to move those rising students into and out of your ministry? So, we're going to talk about today, right here on the Youth Worker Daily. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Youth Worker Daily. My name is Jay Hyam, and here at the Youth Worker Daily, it is our hope to encourage you with tools, tips, resources, and helps so that you thrive in your youth ministry. We've been talking this week about what it looks like to be doing ministry in a COVID world. Some things as they relate to our graduating seniors or mission trips or summer activities. Today, what I want to talk about bridging events. Those things that we do to help move up the rising classmates and to help them get acclimated with the programming so that when the programming starts in the fall, they are ready to go. Now, in years past, I have taken the months of May and June to begin working on some of our bridging events. And one of the ways that we would do that was for the month of May, we would take a couple nights that we would gather for youth ministry, and we would invite our rising students to come and join us for those events, those evenings. And so if it was, since our middle school ministry started at 6th grade, we would reach down to the 5th graders who were about to be our rising 6th graders. And we would say, hey, come and join us for a couple weeks, kind of get a see and a feel and kind of get to know a little bit about what happens at middle school ministry, all with the idea that, breaking them in a little slowly, getting them introduced to some folks, helping them to see that this is really a cool place for them to be. We'll kind of work through some anxieties or some stress or some fears they might be having as they think about coming to the middle school. Now, high school is a little different, although we would run something very similar. We would reach down to our 8th graders, who would be our rising 9th graders, and we would invite them to join us for a couple weeks in May at our high school ministry. And again, really the same idea holds true. We want them to kind of see what they were doing, kind of meet some of the other students, meet the leaders, which I think is a super important part of that, and then become a little more familiar with the high school ministry, so that when the fall would come, they would be connected and feel good about joining us when we fired things up in the fall. Now, those are the general things. The other thing I would often do is, at least for the high school, we would invite those rising 9th graders to participate in whatever we were doing for the high school. We didn't kind of officially say, okay, you're in, woohoo, be here. But we did say, hey, if you are a rising 9th grader and you want to participate in some of these activities, we would love to have you to kind of continue to foster that sense of the idea of getting to meet folks and see the students and do some of the things that you're doing. But now we're in a season where we are not connecting with our students the way that we have in the past. And so we are now almost halfway through April. It sounds like we are not going to be able to really get out of the house or connect with other folks, at least through May. And then there's some question about whether or not we can get with them in June. And so as I think about what that looks like for my rising 5th graders, or my rising 6th graders, and my rising freshmen, now I begin to question, how do we get those kids to connect so that their transition in the fall could be a lot easier? And I'm really thinking more so for those rising 6th graders, because right now we've kind of have a program where we are in the process of separating our middle school and our high school out so that we can run a high school program and a separate middle school program. But there are a lot of things that we still do, like worship and teaching, where we're combined, and then we split for other components for the night. And so I'm not as worried about my rising freshmen, because they've already kind of been apart and they already know that we're separating. And so as I think about my 8th graders, like next year, they're going to be part of our high school. And I just see that transition being slightly easier because of already how things are. But But I do think about my rising sixth graders who right now are not part of our group. And come the fall, I want to make sure that they are part of our group. So what does it look like for us to do those bridging events in the circumstances that we're in? And I will start this off by saying, really right now, I am not sure. I do not have a whole lot of ideas for how to make this work. Partly because we just don't know how much longer we're going to be secluded and isolated into our own homes. Obviously, if all of this lifts within the next couple of weeks, I can quickly implement the invitations so that rising sixth graders are invited into the high school and middle school groups, and they can start seeing those things. So that's an easy thing. My bigger concern is what happens if this continues to go deeper into May, deeper into June, and dare I say, even into the summer. What does it look like for us to kind of create those bridging events for our students? And like I said, I don't know that I have any great creative ideas for what it's going to look like to actually create those bridging events. What's going to happen? And so really today's post is not so much about what ideas I may have, but really asking for your participation in what ideas that you might have. I mean, the only idea that I can think of is in the worst case scenario, we save everything into the fall and we do a promotion Sunday and we bring in our rising sixth graders and we bring in our rising ninth graders and we trust God and hope for the best and just do ministry as normal. But what ways can we be thinking about what it looks like for us to transition these rising students into our programs so that we're eliminating some of the natural fears and anxieties that they're going to experience coming into something new? And maybe it's not so much fear and anxiety. Maybe there are students that are super anxious to get into our student ministries. I know when I work with our children's ministry, there are a couple fifth graders that every Sunday tell me, we can't wait to be in youth group. You know, they've got older siblings that are coming home telling them the things that we're doing. And so they're like, you guys did this week, and we can't wait till we come and we're able to be a part of that. That might be an easy transition for our students if they're in that place of, really looking forward to it. And again, I don't know that we have that in our middle school, high school now because we do so much of it together. We don't have a huge gap between the 8th graders and the 9th graders. But I can foresee us as we separate those groups out. We want to create that kind of bridging event that makes coming into the high school something special and exciting so that we will have 8th graders at someday saying, boy, we see what you're doing with the high school. We can't wait to get into the high school ministry. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking and what I'm looking forward to. But here's the thing for today. And this is going to really connect with us tomorrow too, because tomorrow what we want to talk about is what that long-term impact might be for us as we think about the COVID isolations and our student ministries. But today, I really want to hear from you guys. What are some things that you're beginning to think about when it comes to creating those bridge events? Are you one big group, and so bringing your 9th graders up into or your 8th graders up into high school, not a big deal for you? But what does it look like when you're bringing in those middle school students? So I'd love to hear what you're doing. I'd love to just pick your brain for those type of things. Because where I am, like I said, I'm just about a year into where we are. We do have a combined group. And so, yeah, I want to make sure we're doing well through all of this. And so love to hear some of your thoughts. As always, leave those comments below. And maybe we can get some good dialogue happening here when it comes to creating these bridge events. I know there's a great, the Controlled Chaos did a podcast, and I'll leave the link for it in the description below. But they did a podcast a while back on bridging events, and I knew it was super helpful, and there were a ton of ideas, and I'm like, when I'm in a place to do some of that stuff, we totally want to do some of those ideas. So I'll leave that link down there. Maybe listen to that, and maybe that will stir some thoughts during this season. But yeah, leave your comments below. Visit the youthworkerdaily.com. It's our website where we continue to post other resources and some additional helps and tools. Love for you to go and check that out. And as always, hey, hang out with us on social media. You can follow us at YTH. I should have said at. That's kind of funny. YTH Worker Daily. That's Youth Worker Daily. You'll find us on all of the major platforms. And as much as we're posting, we're looking for what you're posting. So share your ideas. So keep posting and putting those good ideas out there that we can share them and pass them around to other youth workers. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for checking in. Make sure you're here tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to talk more about what this looks like for us in this COVID world in a long-term and the long-term impact that it might be having on our student ministries. All right, guys, we'll see you then. Later for now.